Hello, everyone. My name is Ingunn Westerheim, and I'm the president of Osteogenesis Imperfecta Federation Europe. And today I'm here to tell you about our collaboration project with the OIF Foundation called the Pain and OI Project. First, a little bit about OIFE, which is an umbrella organization in Europe for organizations that deal with OI. We have 20 organizations in Europe. And at the moment, we have 15 national OI organizations who are associate members or partners around the world. In addition, we have 4 supporting members. Our most important activities at the moment include the PAIN project, future events, which includes a topical meeting in Stockholm, the impact survey and access to future treatments. And we are also pretty involved in patient engagement in research and development, and also regulatory affairs in Europe. As you can see from this slide, we represent our members in many different European forums and conferences. So, to the point, the problem, pain. It's reported to be the most important challenge for people with OI besides fractures. And wherever you search, there is hardly any solutions for this problem. How do you deal with pain management? What is the best medication? What are alternatives way to deal with pain? So this is why we all started to think, what can we do about this? This is the background of the project. And as you can see, more than 60% of people with OI have chronic pain. And the percentage and complexity increases with age. All of us, of course, deal with acute pain in addition, if we have fractures or soft tissue injuries. In spite of this, as I mentioned, there is very little information about how you can manage pain as a child or adult with OI. There is also little knowledge and awareness about different kinds of pain in OI among people with OI themselves and professionals. So together with the OI Foundation, we established an international expert group or resource group, as we now call it, because it's difficult to gather people from all over the world in workshops. So it's a resource group including 27 participants from 11 different countries, Europe, Canada, US, and Australia. It's covering both pediatric and adult professionals. It's a very multidisciplinary group, which includes physios, orthopedic surgeons, endocrinologists, rheumatologists, anesthesiologists, pain specialists, psychologists, pediatricians, researchers, nurses, and a social worker. We also included 3 people who have OI themselves. And in addition, we are 3 OIFE people and also some people from the OIF who contribute with different perspectives and also help with the administration. So why do we say that more than 60% of people with OI have chronic pain? Did we get this from like just looking at Facebook or social media? No. There are several studies now confirming that pain is a big problem for people with OI. A very recent article that comes from the multi-center study, the BBDC, says that among 861 individuals with OI, 41.8% had chronic pain, which was most frequently located in the back. Predictors of chronic pain included age, use of a wheelchair, and numbers of fractures per year. It also covered what kind of treatments were used, and the results from the study showed that chronic pain is prevalent in OI across all types, affects mobility, and interferes with participations. The findings are very similar from other studies. This is very hot data. It hasn't been published before, but the impact survey, which included 2,278 respondents, and this was 1,442 adults, found that more than 80% of people with OI have issues with pain. There's also a recent PhD study, and an article is published in English by Ruben Munoz from Spain. You can see him in this photo here, together with the Spanish team who is working for the Spanish OI organization, AHUSA. He found that in a cross-sectional study that in 418 adults with OI, that pain was reported frequently up to 83% of the population in the study. The biggest country in this study were the US and Spain. So this is also a very nice figure from study done by Alison Boyce and her colleagues, illustrating that pain in OI is multifactorial and it's in many different areas of the body. It's the brown dot here that is illustrating pain in OI. So what have this group done? Well, we have had 4 workshops so far. We have agreed on 4 common goals, recommendations on how to assess pain in OI, including different kinds of pain, recommendations on how to measure pain in OI in the clinic and in clinical trials, educational activities about OI and pain to various target groups, and a toolbox on management of chronic pain for children and adults with OI. Our ambition is not to come up with clinical guidelines or a big consensus document, because we think it's very hard to give recommendations that will be valid across all countries. So our aim is to make a toolbox that the people with OI can bring to their local providers and discuss pain management with them. We're also planning a survey organized by the OI Foundation and the OIFE to gather more information from the people with OI about knowledge gaps. And in addition, OIF and the OIF are involved in another industry-sponsored project related to OI and pain, which will probably include a literature search and qualitative interviews of people with OI from 5 countries. So we have discussed different challenges, and one of the challenges is how to measure pain. So this is a nice example that both combines the faces, but also descriptions, because many people with OI find this scale to be a bit challenging. When you live with pain all the time, how do you put a number on it when you are seen in the ER, or when it comes to chronic pain, it's even more complicated. So one of the participants in the group is Professor Audun Stubhaug from Norway, who is leading one of the bigger pain clinics in the Nordic countries. And his view is that pain scales are more or less useless in chronic pain. The main thing is to find out how the pain is preventing the person of functioning. So pain interference is the key. Does pain interfere with your social life, work, sleep, etc.? Problem is, however, that the EMA and the FDA and other regulators always require us to include pain intensity to measure efficacy of a drug treatment. So pain scales are necessary in clinical trials, but perhaps not so useful in the clinic. This is also a screenshot from one of our workshops about which pain assessment tools that can be relevant in OI. Our discussion concluded that there is no perfect questionnaire. It doesn't exist one tool that fits all, and definitely different tools for different ages. And it's a different objective if you're doing research or you want to evaluate clinical response. we should strive to use validated tools, multidimensional tools, and to be consistent in pain evaluation. So our goal is to present some results at the topical meeting Balancing Life with OI, which will take place in Stockholm from June 9th to 10th, not the 8th to 11th, June 9th to 10th in Stockholm, Sweden. And pain will be one of the main topics, and how pain interferes with sleep, mobility, family, and relationships. So, final questions. So these are some of the questions we are discussing in the group. How does pain in OI differ from pain in other conditions? What is the connection between OI, pain and hypermobility, sleep, fatigue, soft tissue, inflammation, obesity, and arthritis? How can we prevent chronic pain by providing better acute pain management? Do pain diaries make sense? Are people motivated to use them? Will ICD-11 provide a better classification system for chronic pain? What is the connection between pain and physical function? What coping strategies are most beneficial when it comes to pain and OI? Do people with OI ignore or cope with their pain for too long? And are there any other factors that can help buffer mental health problems because of pain? This could be peer support, parental support, coping, resilience, etc. So this was a bit quick overview of the pain project. You will probably hear more about it in the future, I hope. I say thank you for the attention. If you have questions, I'm unfortunately not a night owl anymore, so you would have to email me or ask Tracy and Erica to answer your question. Thank you very much.